All right, let's tackle a question that is a huge headache for pretty much anyone buying or selling a house. When you buy the property, what exactly are you getting with it? It sounds like it should be simple, but trust me, it can get really messy really fast.
So just imagine this for a second. You found your dream home. You love it. And part of the reason you love it is because of these amazing custom-made blinds that are just perfect for every room. So you move in all excited, and they're gone. The seller took them. So who's right? Are you entitled to them, or was the seller allowed to just pack them up? This is the exact kind of problem we're going to solve today.
You know, the answer to that whole blinds problem and a ton of others like it all comes down to two little legal words: fixture and chattel. Getting the difference between these two is the absolute key to knowing what you're buying or what you have to leave behind when you sell.
Okay, so here's the deal. A fixture is legally considered part of the property itself. Think of it as being, fused to the house. When the house is sold, the fixtures stay put. A chattel, on the other hand, is just stuff. It's personal property that the seller takes with them. Seems pretty straightforward, right? Well, that line between them can get surprisingly blurry. And this is where it gets really interesting. It's not just a guessing game or about what you think is fair. The law actually has a very specific formal test to figure out whether something, like a dishwasher or a fancy light fitting, is a fixture or a chattel. And that test is a beautifully simple two-part system. This framework, which is well established in law, gives us a clear way to solve this property puzzle. Once you understand these two parts, you'll be able to walk into pretty much any house and know exactly what's what. All right, so the test boils down to two big questions. First up is the degree of annexation, which is just a fancy way of asking how is it stuck on there? Is it just sitting on the floor, or is it bolted, screwed, or wired into the building? The harder it is to remove, the more likely it's a fixture. The second question, which is often the decider, is the purpose of annexation. So why was it put there? Was it to make the house itself better for the long haul, or was it just so you could enjoy that specific item more? Now, this whole idea isn't new. It actually comes from a super important Australian case from way back in 1938. What the court basically said is this: if something is attached by more than just its own weight, if it looks like it was meant to stay there forever, and if yanking it out would cause a bunch of damage, then yeah, it's almost certainly a fixture. Okay, so that's the theory. But how does this actually work in the real world? Let's get practical. We're going to run a few common household items through our two-part test to see what we find.
All right, let's take a look. A built-in stove. How's it attached? It's wired in, it's fitted into the cabinetry. Why is it there? To improve the kitchen, obviously, so that's a fixture. Fitted carpets? Same deal. They're attached, and the whole point is to improve the room itself. Fixture. But a hanging picture? Now, it is attached with a hook, but the purpose wasn't to make the wall better, it was so you could enjoy the art. That makes it a chattel. A freestanding rug? That's easy. It's just sitting there on its own weight. Total chattel. And that brings us back to our blinds. They're physically screwed in, and they're there for the long-term benefit of the house. So yep, they're usually fixtures.
So we've got the test down, but why is this so incredibly important to understand before you sign on the dotted line? Well, this isn't just some fun legal trivia. Getting this stuff wrong can lead to some really bitter arguments and a whole lot of disappointment. And here it is, the absolute bottom line. By default, when you buy a house, you get all the fixtures. That's the rule. But you get none of the chattels unless they are specifically listed in the sale contract. This is why that contract is everything. If you fell in love with the seller's amazing fridge or that garden shed that's just sitting on some pavers, you have to get it in writing. Never, ever assume. Clarity is your absolute best friend here. So there you have it. You're now armed with the knowledge. The next time you walk through a home you're thinking about buying, you'll see it through new eyes. You'll be spotting the fixtures and the chattels like a pro. But most importantly, you'll know that the biggest question isn't just about what you can see. It's about what's written down in that contract. Always, always check the contract.